You're watching Pyro Media Network.
I can't let them take my soul. Nah, 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 no. Oh, I can't let them take my soul. Nah, 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 no. See, we was cool right before it hit the fence, but it hit the fan when I got him down at the bench. But I took a break, I had to leave and go get cleansed. God forgive me for all my sins. I can't say these cause my last name ain't Kent. Cooking on the stove, that's the way he paid the rent. Working on the pole, that's the way she paid tuition. Better watch your soul, cause you know they trying to get it. Yeah, yeah. I learned my right from wrong on a song. I let my heart bleed on my sleeve to microphones. I'm trying to right my wrongs. I write out my wrongs. Ran through a check.
If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience with us is fruitful. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. And we do hope you consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
And you better talk to me nicely. Next to blow, little bitch, I might be. Oh, can't forget all the days they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get advice we know. Talk to me nicely. I know that they hit it, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get advice we know. We on top, flipping the bird, they going sick. But I'ma make a meet every.
Hey, everybody. It is I Hope Giselle, and I am back with a new year and a new episode of I Have Thoughts, okay? And I have a lot of thoughts for y'all. I took a hiatus. I got my life together. I got rejuvenated. I got me some dick, child. There was a lot of things that I got while I was away, okay? And I am really, really, really excited to come back and share some of those things with you all, especially as we move into 2024. Now, the first half of this show is going to be me getting y'all together, how I had to get myself together spiritually as we moved into this year. Because some of you all out here are setting these New Year's resolutions and these New Year's goals. And while I am here for that, a lot of you all are missing the mark when it comes down to the idea that you can't just set a goal. You have to actually be willing to work towards the goal. Hope, I get it. Why would I not want to work towards my goal? What do you mean? You think you spitting, but you not really spitting. I'm about to log off. Before you do that, not that I care. Just listen to me real fast, right? One of the things that we have to be mindful about as we're setting our New Year's resolutions, as we're setting our goals, as we're trying to plan for this new year as it comes around, that we have to be cognizant of is the fact that we cannot be unrealistic with these goals. What does this mean? It does not mean that you shouldn't go to the gym. It does not mean that you should not go ahead and ask for that loan or take out that business, whatever, or do the second mortgage on that house for that dream that you've been putting off and you've been trying to step out on faith and doing all of the things. But one of the things that we've learned as people who are probably forced into the church as queer folks is this: faith without works, my love, is dead. One of the things that folks want to do is have all of this faith that their New Year's resolutions are somehow going to pop into their heads and then solve themselves as the year goes on. That's the reason why we have an influx of people who buy these gym memberships, want to get their body together, pay for these personal trainers, and then by February 20th, February 15th, February 31st, not that there's a February 31st, but by that day, we don't see any of those people actually doing the work to maintain those goals, those resolutions that they set out to do in the first place. And a large part about that is not because people don't understand that there's work that goes behind those resolutions, but it's that people didn't realize how much work went behind those resolutions. So when we set ourselves up for greatness, we have to set ourselves up for greatness in a way that applies to our life as it is now. So does that mean that we can book the gym sessions? Absolutely. But if you know that you have 3 kids to take to practice, a husband that always forgets his keys, a wife that's never really on time to anything, a partner that's going to need all of your emotional space and attention, I don't think that booking a session in the middle of the day is going to be the best thing for you. The work is going to come into play where you have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get that time in because that is your goal. But are you willing to do the work to attain what you want to attain? And a lot of people will readily admit that the answer is no. So why set yourself up for failure? Why set yourself up for something that you know you don't want badly enough to do the work required to actually attain it? And the answer to that is simple. The gram, social media, the internet, peer pressure, all of those things that they told us way back in the dare days to avoid and stay away from and be mindful of are the very things that are putting us in a chokehold to create these unrealistic expectations about how we are supposed to win the year. I am here to tell you that it is okay to step back and reanalyze yourself once you realize after this first week that it ain't gonna cut it. But giving up is not the way to go. It's not about the idea of the work being overloaded. It's just about the idea of it being delegated in a way that makes sense to you. So, like I said in my first example, instead of booking a gym session in the middle of the day or a time of day where most people typically go, the sacrifice will be is getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to make that space so that nobody is in your way, you're not in anybody else's way, and you can still accompany or accommodate all of the things that you have previously agreed to before the year even started, or things that were just a part of your daily routine regardless. People are counting on you and you don't want to let them down, but you do want to make sure that you're a part of the people that you don't want to let down. Don't let yourself down while trying to make other people feel like you are constantly there for them. That is how you lose the year before it even gets started. One of the other things that I wanted to remind people of is to stop the sense of comparison at the early part of the year. There are going to be some people who by February are going to hop on the gram, the Instas, the social webs, and they're going to brag and boast about how they've already hit their numbers for the year, how they already feel like the trajectory of the year is going amazing for them, how the sales have come through, how their marriage has gotten better, how their relationship problems feel like they are solved all of a sudden. And it's only week 2 of month 2 of year 24. But I have something to tell y'all. Their race ain't your race. Mind your business. There are certain times where it's okay to put the blinders on so that you are not distracted by the work of somebody else. And this is one of those times. I'm not sure how many of you all know this, but if you've ever been to a racetrack or if you've ever seen racing horses, some of them require the need to have little blinders on the side because horses' range of vision is very far out. And to make sure the horse only goes straight, to make sure that the horse gets to the finish line, to make sure that horse is going exactly where you need them to go, they need fewer distractions. And some of you all need to be like those racehorses. Put on those blinders and focus on what you got going on instead of worrying about the progress of what everybody else has going on and how quickly it seems to be happening for them and not you. The thief of joy is comparison. So stop losing your joy comparing yourself to people who, 1, you don't know, 2, you'll probably never meet, and 3, probably have invented an entire character for social media that doesn't even exist in real life. Half of the folks that we are envious of, half of the folks whose lives we want, half of the pictures that we idolize on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok don't even exist after the flash goes off. So stop beating yourself up trying to keep up with these blue checks and these millions of followers and these thousands of comments and all of the engagement, and just do you. There's a song by Rocco that came out a couple of years ago, and it might not have been a smash hit, but it was one of those things that went triple platinum in my house. And it's a song that goes, you just do you, and I'ma do me. I'ma do me. I'ma do me. And I'm going to encourage everybody this year to allow everybody to do just that. Let your friends, your families, your loved ones, your lover, your partner, your work friends, all of the folks, do them, do you, and watch how this year shapes up for you. But one of the things that has to happen is that we have to understand that the work is also not just on you. Some of us have projects that are not as simple as going to the gym at 4 a.m., right? So some of us need to understand that in order to do you, you need to team of people that support you. So trying to run away from collaboration, not going to those networking events because you too tired, even though you finna be up till 5 a.m. in the morning watching Family Guy, is not going to cut it this year. We've got to learn how to build community and build groups of people that understand where we're going, that understand the drive, that get the plan, that are focused in the same way that you were focused, and work with them to make the goal happen. While you might not all be working towards the same end, you can all find ways to help each other get where you need to go. If there's a friend that wants to be able to record and do video and create some high-end content for people, but doesn't really have anybody that's doing anything where they can do that, put yourself on their radar. Work together in tandem to get to the top. That person gets what they need because they now have things to put in their portfolio. You get what you need because you now have content to promote the thing that you're trying to launch this year, and everybody wins. But you don't know those things if you stop networking or if you make excuses for why you can't show up to things that are going to ultimately be beneficial, not only to you, but possibly to a person who can become a friend or already is a friend. Outside of that, let's talk about what it means to actually go to networking events to network and not just to show up for the open bar. Because some of you all last year went to 1,000 networking events and you didn't feel like it was worth it. And you're going to go into 2024 telling other people that networking events are bullshit and that they don't really work and that they're social hierarchy places and that people don't actually go there to network. People go there to drink for free, look nice, and talk down on each other. And if that is your experience, my love, I am so sorry for you. It's not to say that not, all of those networking events, don't have a tinge of that. But it is to say that networking can be what you make it. If you go into a space with the idea that you're going to talk to as many people, shake as many hands, and have as many meaningful conversations as possible, then that's what you get out of it. If you go in there with the need to look for the Prosecco, that's all you're going to find. A couple of glasses later, you're going to be in the middle of the dance floor doing your single ladies impressions, and that's all people are going to remember you for. And while that is still a good impression, it's not going to garner you the views, the content, the ad concepts. It's not going to garner you long-lasting relationships with people, at least not the ones that you want. And it's definitely not going to put you any further than you were before you walked in the room. Seize the opportunity, but understand what the opportunity is in the moment. It can't just be mingling amongst the people who are high profile while you're there just saying that you're in the room. In 2024, stop accepting invitations to network where you don't have a reason to be there outside of watching other powerful people speak their piece. When you're invited to these spaces this year, ask yourself, am I just being invited into this space to be the diversity quota? Am I just being invited to this space to fill the room? Or am I being invited to this space because there is something valuable about me that made these people reach out to me and say, we've got to have you there? Because if they reached out to you, they've already fucked up because you're needed. They need you more than you need them. Stop accepting the invitation and start accepting the invitation with a caveat. And the caveat should and has to be something that is worth it on your back end. If you're a person selling a product, if you're going to go to this event for networking, ask them if you can set up a table where you can sell your product in the corner. If you're a public speaker and there's someone speaking or there's a panel happening, ask them how you can get in on that panel, or ask them how you're able to talk to the panel for 5 minutes before or after. Those things make those type of networking events worth your while. And if you don't take anything else from this, understand that just accepting the invitation is not going to always be your end all be all. It's about understanding how to get your foot in the door, past the door, and then having people to open it for you the next time. I want to be somebody that comes in these rooms and motherfuckers remember that you need to hold the door for her. Not just a person that comes into the room and people just go, your name is on the list. There's a lot of people that could get on the list, but there's not a lot of people that are going to get the full extent of service that is available to them at every event. You want to be a full service person when you come and you show up to these events. And this is how you're going to get those New Year's goals popping and flowing and going and growing. So let's go back over the list. Make realistic goals and adjustments if those goals do not fit with your lifestyle, but do not give up and do not quit. Understand that not every single goal that you set for yourself can be hit by yourself. So building a team, no matter how big or small, might be necessary. And always work with people who are on the up and up with you instead of trying to get people who are above you to meet you where you are. Outside of that, when you go to these networking events, actually network. It is okay to have a glass of your favorite wine, Chardonnay, or cocktail. But once you've done all of that you're going to do, make sure that you have the meaningful conversations, that you have your business cards, whether it be a tap card or something physical. Go in with a plan. And if they don't have a plan for you, create one for yourself. It is never just a yes until you agree for it to just be that. So be your own advocate, go into the new year with a plan, and do so in ways that are going to level you up like the people who you're going to be in the rooms with. With that being said, I'm going to let y'all go on this break, and I'll be back with a little bit of gossip.
Talk to me nicely. Next to blow, little bitch, I might be. Can't forget all the days they overpriced me. So now that we up.
Because self-care should be luxurious. Luxe Noir.
Hey pilots, did you know that you can now catch the electrifying sounds of Bulletin Flight Radio anywhere you go? Yes, you heard it right. Tune in to the high-flying beats and soaring melodies by downloading the TuneIn app on your mobile device. Just search for Bulletin Flight Radio and hit play. It's that easy. And if you have a smart device like Alexa or Google, just say, "Hey Google," or "Alexa, play Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn." Experience the rush of adrenaline wherever you are. Listen to Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn using your Alexa or Google devices. Soaring through the skies has never sounded this good. Don't miss out on the ultimate musical journey. Tune in now to Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn and let the music take you on an unforgettable ride. Get ready to elevate your listening experience. Brought to you by Bulletin Flight Radio.
I noticed they hit it, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced
Hey
me.
everybody, it is I, Hope Giselle, and I am back. So in case you missed the first half of the show, we were talking about what it means to step into the new year with some actual goal-oriented thinking, okay? Because a lot of us are just setting those goals and all of that jazz and not really making good on it. But for the second half of the show, I got a little bit of tea for y'all. And I know that this is not going to be new tea. I know that it's not even hype in piping fresh no more. But I got thoughts, and that's why we're here. So in case you've been under a rock, which I don't think that most of y'all have been, because this is the interview heard around the world, Cat Williams went on to Club Shay Shay and laid into the industry, okay? Like, let me tell y'all something. Cat Williams has always been one of my favorite comedians since finding out and discovering that he was a person on this earth. But after this interview, I love me some Cat. And I need for every streaming service that has a Cat Williams special or whatever the case may be to run it up so this man can get his residuals, because we're going to watch all 12 of them. Because once again, if you've watched the interview, you know that Cedric the Entertainer has 4 specials that are so bad you cannot find them on Netflix or Tubi. Once again, Cedric the Entertainer has 4 specials that are so bad that you cannot find them on Netflix or Tubi. Let me tell y'all something. I've watched this interview in snippets and sections so many times that I'm going to be hitting y'all with all of these quotes for the rest of the year. So prepare to be sick of me. So Cat Williams goes on to Shannon Sharp's popular podcast. And in case you don't know who Shannon Sharp is, he is an ex ESPN ball player, all of those things. Really dope guy, does really, really great interviews with people. And he doesn't like to call them interviews. He just likes to say that he's a really great conversationalist. And I can agree with that because I feel the same way. I don't interview people. I have conversations that you motherfuckers just happen to be privy to. And during this interview or this conversation between the two of them, Cat Williams seemed to let things just, he let the bells ring, okay? And Shannon was there for the tea. Shannon is a really great journalist in this way. He knows how to allow people the space to tell their stories and to get a full thought out before jumping in and trying to interject and all of these different things. And it is very clear that that is the reason why people go on to this show, and especially men who are in the industry, they go on to this show and they feel ridiculously uber comfortable with him because he knows how to do a good fucking conversation. Now, Cat Williams named a couple of different people up in this, this thing. A large part of them were Ricky Smiley, Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer. He talked a little bit about Bernie Mac in the positive. He spoke a little bit about the ways in which Steve Harvey and a lot of these folks navigate. He talked about a lot of different things and injustices that people need to know about, especially as it pertains to the entertainment industry. One of the points that I wanted to hit on before I get into some of the messiness that Kat brought up is the fact that Kat has been an upstanding guy as pertains to being a guy's guy. We've heard about girls being girls, but it's very rare that we hear about men sticking up for anybody, let alone each other. And when I think about the idea of Cat Williams taking time out of his interview to talk about the late and great Bernie Mac and talk about how much of a stand-up guy he was and how those people fucked him over with Kings of Comedy, allegedly, I've got to give it to him and say that he could have foregone that. He could have, taken any amount of time. He could have really stepped back from the idea of doing this interview and really just platformed himself, made it about him, made it about his drama, made it about the people that he wanted to, come after. But out of the entire 3 hours of the interview, you can bog down all of the drama and the messiness into about 45 minutes of a 3-hour-long interview. And I think that there's something beautiful about that when in that 45-minute section, you take about 5 good minutes to talk about how amazing you thought Bernie Mac was and how fucked up you thought it was that not only did they do to him what they did to you, but you felt like they did him even worse. And to platform that post-mortem, I think that people like that who can take a step back and really give flowers where they're due and gave flowers where they were due when people were alive is really important. But now when we talk about these motherfuckers like Cedric the Entertainer, Steve Harvey, Ricky Smiley, all of these folks, let me go ahead and open it up by saying that I am biased against a lot of these men as a trans woman, because a lot of these men have said some negative and derogatory things, or I've had personal experiences with them. Let me start off by saying that I've met Steve Harvey 4 different times of my life. Twice I met him as a young gay boy before transitioning, and twice I met him as a young trans woman after transitioning. One of those times was at my college, university graduation, and I was pissed. He was the commencement speaker, and I thought that it was so great, and he did give a really great commencement speech. And then Steve Harvey saw me as a visibly trans woman on my graduation day getting my diploma and physically chose to not use them big ass motherfucking Tic Tacs that he calls teeth to smile at me. He waited until I walked up. He smiled verbosely at the person in front of me and then made sure that he scowled at me and kind of made that face as I walked by. This is my graduation day from college of all places. Motherfucker, fuck you and that raggedy ass hairpiece that Cat exposed, and I'm so happy about it. So I'm just gonna let y'all know that my bias is there. I'm gonna be clear about it. But at the end of the day, okay, Cat was really the one that got the last laugh. When it comes down to it, I think that Cat didn't do anything extra with Steve Harvey except expose the fact that Steve is exactly who a lot of us have been thinking that he is. He's a misogynist, self-centered, narcissistic ass person who really is only here for himself and doesn't mind stepping on a couple of faces to get there. He doesn't mind making women feel like they're small so that he can feel big. He doesn't mind trying to intimidate women with his fake ass woke idea of what it means to be a man, trying to teach women the best way to interact with him. And I think that Kat is just like, y'all see through this shit, right? You got all of these women thinking like men, and you got all of this shit, but at the end of the day, the woman that you're with barely speaks, and we only see her if she's wrapped around your arm so tightly that we can barely see her fucking face. And it's absolutely ridiculous to think that people have an issue with the fact that Shannon allowed these, you know, these truths to be made self-evident, when he also allowed for Cedric the Entertainer to come on and say things like, oh, you know, I don't know about this joke that Cat Williams is talking about. I never stole a joke. When there are receipts that Cat Williams definitely performed this joke before you, and then you did it after him, and now you're going to tell us all that you didn't steal it. It doesn't make sense. It's not tracking. Then there's this entire idea that Ricky Smiley is going on this tirade saying that, oh, he was supposed to play Money Mike the Pimp and Friday and X, Y, and Z and yada, yada, yada. And even Ice Cube himself basically was just like, bruh, we auditioned you for a couple of parts, but I don't want to hurt your feelings in front of people. Money Mike wasn't for you. And when Cat Williams says that he built that character from the ground up, I believe that wholeheartedly, because Ricky Smiley's only area to go to is Miss Mabel from down the street, who is a deaconess at the church with no actual deacon on her arm for the last 20 years. You did not have the mental capacity to come up with a character that was as range diverse as Money Mike. Money Mike was not just a pimp. He was a full-fledged life force being in that movie that turned it up that much more the second that he entered the screen. There was nothing small about that character. He had range, he had levels, he had understanding of what comedic timing was. And I think that the reasoning for why I even more further support the idea of Cat Williams playing that part is because when we think about Grape and an essay and all of those things, we need to be making sure that we're not making fun of essay under any circumstances, that we're not making fun of Grape under any circumstances, that it is not funny for anybody to be assaulted as it pertains to their sexual being, no matter who it is or under what circumstances they come from. Somebody is bound to be triggered while the rest of us are laughing. And the fact that at that point in time, before PC culture was established, before you had all of these people screaming Me Too, before you had all of the people who were deciding that men can now tell their truths, Cat Williams stood up to a group of people who had the power to say, fuck you, little man. We're trying to give you an opportunity. We're trying to give you a shot. How dare you come in here and ask us to change this script? He stood on his principles, he stood on his morals, and he requested something that made the film even more iconic than it already was. Because had he been raped in the bathroom, would we have ever gotten a chance to see that funny ass scene of him chasing the car down for the rest of the night? Like, what is that about? There's something that's very interesting about the way that Ricky Smiley tried to, wanted to convince us that that was all him, when we know that your intellectual capacity in comedy does not stretch that far. I think that Cat Williams definitely did stretch the truth a little bit about some of the things as far as like the contract with Ricky Smiley being in a dress. I think that was just a coincidence because he doesn't have creative nature to do anything else. But I think that when you really think about the idea of what this man brought to the forefront, it was the idea of imbalance, unfair situations, and the fact that a lot of these things are happening and have happened to him because he refused to lay down, he refused to give up on his character morals and values and his thought process of how the world works. And he said no to a lot of opportunities that other people clearly said yes to. Even when we get into the point about Ludacris, who I failed to mention a little bit earlier, Ludacris talks a little bit about how everything that Cat Williams is saying is a lie. You know how I know? And you want to know why I allegedly believe that nothing that Cat Williams said about Ludacris specifically wasn't true? You ain't rapped in about 12 years, my nigga. You have been perfectly fine being the nerd on Fast and Furious soundtracks and all of those things for the last 12 years, my dude. You have not really been Luda. You ain't been Luda. You ain't been Luda, just like Busta ain't been Busta Bust. You ain't been Luda in a minute. And literally in less than 24 hours, this man put you back in the studio. Oh, you was mad because you got caught. And I feel like if a person can bring a retired rapper out of fucking retirement to respond because you felt like that was the only way you were going to get a buzz about your response, and that was the only way that you were going to actually be able to communicate your thoughts, because Lord knows you can't really talk to save your life without a script. Like, there are so many different layers that add into the points that Kat was making that I am going to wholeheartedly say, what he said happened, bitch. That shit happened. And he has y'all quaking in your boots, and nobody wants to admit it except for the people that want to admit it. And I am here for it. I don't think that Kat went on that interview with the intention to be messy. I don't think that Kat went on that interview with the intention to make anybody look worse than they were already making themselves look. I think that Kat went on that interview with something to say, and he didn't want to waste the time of Shannon Sharpe, who, you know, was providing this platform with already hundreds of thousands of viewers, but after this particular interview, there are going to be millions of people tuning in. Cat Williams went there and set the tone for what it means to tell your truth and utilize the moment to the best of your ability, even if some people are going to be upset. And that's the real to gaga about why some of these people are mad. It's because y'all went on that show and you wasted your time and you tried to make people look bad, and you went on there with your high and mighty suits, oversized, barely being able to sit up, barely being able to really communicate, and you got upset versus getting to the point. And some of y'all got to learn that getting to the point is going to ultimately get you more gigs than trying to talk shit about people who you don't think remember what you did when nobody else was looking. Now, I want to talk really quickly about Shannon Sharpe and talk about how Unc got attacked after this interview. He released a little bit of a clip with him and Ocho Cinco. I'm not going to play the clip because it's a very long clip. They kind of having boys talking. It bounces back and forth. But what I will summarize and say is that Shannon Sharpe was a little upset because apparently people were in the comments in his inbox making phone calls talking about how he didn't cut Cat Williams off and how he allowed him to go off and just say what he wanted to say. And I have this to say. That man has a job just like every other radio host, podcaster, whatever the case, has a job. He is there to get the best out of the person that is sitting in front of him at the time. It is not his job to protect your image as it pertains to this person. And let me be very clear, because some of y'all are going to say, but he's friends with Steve Harvey. He's friends with Cedric the Entertainer. As my friend, you understand that this is my job. It's not personal. I am sitting here and allowing this person to vent. And as long as what they are saying has nothing to do with disrespecting your children, your wife, your mammy, them, I'm not gonna stop nobody from saying what they saying about their experience with you. All I can say is that that wasn't my experience with him. But I'm not going to tell Cat he can't talk about how you fucked him over for $20 at the gas station if that is what he experienced. You're going to be the villain in somebody's story. Everybody is the villain in somebody else's story. There's the nicest person in the world, and somebody encountered that person on the wrong day and thinks that that person ain't shit. At the end of the day, if you don't want to ever be recalled as a villain, go through your entire life attempting to not be one. And get back to me when you die and you haven't wronged anybody, whether it be on purpose or by accident. There's no way to be perfect and be beautiful and be liked in everyone's eyes. You can give back as much as you want. You can donate as much as you want. You can say the nicest things to people all the day long, and somebody is going to still find a reason to dislike you. It is not the job of an interviewer to tell this person what their truth is because we are friends outside of this capacity. As an interviewer, it is my job to try and get the facts. And what I do want to say is, here we go with this one, Shannon Sharpe's team was on it. There was a team of fact checkers during this interview. And during this interview, at some point, the fact checkers would pop up and be like, hey, could you clarify this for us? Because you said this, but we're finding this as we look it up. So let's be very clear that the fact checkers didn't come out too many times. So obviously, when they were doing their research in tandem with the interview going on, these things were checking out. So don't look at Shannon Sharp and say, oh, you made me look bad. You weren't a real friend. You allow him to do X, Y, and Z. Because what that tells me is that you think that Shannon should allow people to believe that you are somebody that you are not, to believe that you wrote jokes that you didn't write, to believe that you are more talented than you actually are, to believe that you're an entertainer when you're not, to believe that you had the best lineup when it was a wig, to believe that you can play anything other than a woman who is elderly in a church. And those things are simply not true. So if the idea of this whole Shannon Sharp hate train is because Cat Williams went on there and told the truth, and Shannon allowed the truth to be told, if that's why y'all are really mad, y'all were never his friends to begin with. Because at the end of the day, he didn't ask you all to go out there and lie. He just reported the news. And when y'all sat in front of that man and lied to him in his face, he did not question you. So why should he question Cat about the truth? That's just it. That's just that on that. So as I move into my final thoughts for today, I want to say this. As we get ready to gear up for this new year, let's make sure that we are being honest with ourselves about exactly how much time that we have and what we're going to pour energy into. I want to compile both of these topics together and say that whether you're trying to figure out if you're going to recalibrate your New Year's goals, or if you are trying to figure out the best way to sift through truth when it pertains to friends versus when it pertains to associates, one of the things that we have to mind ourselves of is minding our fucking business. If you mind the business that pays you, everything that is going on with everybody else becomes obsolete because you are too in tune with what you have to do to succeed. Put on those blinders. Do not allow people to make your issues and their issues become so intertwined that you forget where one starts and where the other one stops. Because the second that a person can throw you off from the goals that you have set for yourself, they can throw you off balance with everything else that you have going on in life. And not a single person here deserves to not make their goal because they allowed somebody else to come in and deter them from the thing that they knew was rightfully theirs. Until next time, like I say this time and every time, have the day that you deserve, and I will see you all around.
Talk to me nicely. I noticed they heated, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get advice, we know.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.